Hey everyone, it's Richard Metalfan here, bringing you guys a brand new 2020 album review, and today we're going to be looking into the new album from Heaven Shall Burn entitled Of Truth and Sacrifice, which just came out today through Century Media Records. Excuse me. Now, for those of you who aren't too familiar with Heaven Shall Burn, they're an extreme metal band formed in 1996 in Saalfeld, Germany. And Heaven Shall Burn, I've been listening to these guys pretty much since high school. And they've pretty much been on my bucket list of bands I'm just dying to see live. I really wish they would come and tour in the US. And I discovered them back in 2009. I was like 15 years old. I think I heard the song Enzit, and I was pretty much hooked on their stuff. And they've been putting out albums since probably, I can't remember, but I also know pretty much their best album, in my opinion, is of course the Iconoclast, which, like I mentioned, the song Enzit, which pretty much got me into this band. And then they released Invictus, Iconoclast Part 3, and the Part 2 is actually like a live concert. And then 2013's Veto, which I thought was a really good album, and then their previous album, which is 2016's Wanderer, I thought was a really good album. And of course I've had it, but with this album, this is actually kind of, the few things are a little bit different, and this album, I feel like, is a lot better than Wanderer in my opinion. And this is actually the band's first double album, meaning this album spans on 2 discs and it runs for a little over an hour and 40 minutes, which is kind of nuts. And just one thing to note, I mean, Heaven Shall Burn's music is kind of like lumped in with kind of like a mixture of like metalcore and deathcore a little bit, with a little bit of melodic death metal. I mean, I just consider them straight up melodic death metal. I mean, they kind of have a little bit of like metalcore-ish guitar stuff, but that's just me. But this album I really love. Like, the production is just great, and the vocal work from Marcus Bischoff, I don't know how it does it. You could definitely hear his German accent when he does his screams. It's definitely just well in there. But I just think he's a sick screamer. Guitar wise, Mike Richards and Alex Dietz, I can never pronounce his last name. Just the riffs they come up with on this album is great, and just the little just catchy guitar parts is just great. The bass on this album is definitely pretty audible. You can definitely hear it well in the mix. And drumming wise, Christian bass, I don't know what I could say. This dude's a great drummer. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Starting off with disc 1, we kick off with March of Retribution, which announces the enormous scale and vision of this album. The band sort of like defined their concept first, the complexity of the notion and truth in the era of fake news and hypocrisy versus like the sacrifice to get the real truth and overcome the dumbing down of mankind, which kind of feels like how it is right now with this whole coronavirus, but that's another story for another time. It's an overall great way to start off this album. And then next song on here is Thoughts and Prayers, which no questions are left here and no drive, with sort of like the same like irrepressible anger and energy that always has characterized Heaven Shall Burn, pretty much on record and from live videos I've seen. And then the guitar theme of the intro picks up more. It's sort of like an introverted basic tone from the previous album, Wanderer. And I just think it just feels like I don't know, it's just a great song. Next song on the album is called Eradicate, which has an unleashed like vocals from Marcus Bischoff. I feel like this is pretty much one of his best songs on here vocally. The Protector, there's the next song, which is a slightly more up-tempo number with some serious moments of like a double bass drum work, and has become a staple in the band's music. It's clear that we get to see a start, or it's in sort of like the thick of the record, and the band is sticking with and what they know is pretty much best in what they do. Next song on here is Übermacht. I can never pronounce that. That it pretty much hits us with sort of like an unusual taste of like very industrial kind of sounding metal. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like another great German band, Rammstein. Shine sort of as like the electronic gadgets are like not an innovation in the Heaven Shall Burn sound, but in 2020 our compatriots will surprise us with new levels of like determination and lightheartedness. The next song is called My Heart in the Ocean, which takes the crown as, in my opinion, the most standout track on the album, with its immediate sense of urgency, and it feels as though this track is making a dash to the finish with its riffs and melody. It is a superbly crafted song which will have the listener eating out a palm of their hands, which eagerly making a move just for the repeat button. Great song on here. Anyway, next song on the album is called Expatriate. I probably butchered that, but which I feel like is a call for arms. So the mixture comes from the use of strings as well as the piano, and there's some heavy epic moments throughout this song. It's one of the longest songs on here. It's 8 minutes long. It is so far removed from being a traditional Heaven Shall Burn song, yet you don't even know you were listening to. Your wild guess pretty much will still likely be correct. Anyway, What War Means, which is almost like Running Through the Wall, where the sounds of like the double bass gives me sort of makes you feel like your calves are cramping with here. And I feel like we're dealing with what's probably the weakest song on the album, but hey, that's how it's difficult with the rest of the album as well. Anyway, moving on to Terminates the Unconcern, which is another great song. I think I don't know, I just love it. And then this one closes with The Ashes of My Enemies, which is a piece of outro music, which is just peaceful, full, and epic with strings doing most of the work to see us out. And the truth is, if this was the end of the album, there would be no complaints here. And then we kick off with disc 2. When starting things off is Children of the Lesser God, which works surprisingly well at first, but allows itself to some unspectacular lengths towards the end. Next song on here is La Resistance, which is any electronic fan's absolute dreams, and it feels like it is heavily influenced. It's reminds me a little bit of like Rob Zombie a little bit, or any like other stuff. I don't know. Just the variety of this pretty much showcases like the LP songwriting and sort of like the depth of the band, especially showing what's to come next. Next on the album is called The Sorrows of Victory, which is phenomenally balanced execution of like epic and sort of like dark metal, which is actually has a guest appearance from Chris Harms, which sings in a band called Lord of the Lost. And I feel like Mike just comes up with some really great guitar work on here, and it's almost another one of the longest, pretty much the longest song on here, which is 10 minutes long, which is kind of like an epic, sort of like death epic that is hard to be in terms of like the drama on here. Next song on here is called Stateless, which I feel like this song kind of like feels like it could like connect to one of the previous songs on this album, Protector. I can't even speak today. I think it's just a great song. Next song is called Tirpitz, which proves to be pretty lame song in Heaven Shall Burn, but also have to admit the occurring kind of like World War II theme amongst the song, but I feel like it's a little bit tiresome to me. Truther, which is probably the fastest song on here, with just like the double bass blast beats and sort of like the tremolo riffs that would just which I guess this pretty much song would just get you just those pits raging in a live show. Next song on here is called Critical Mass, and this is actually a cover song originally done by Nuclear Assault. And this has a very slow and poignant intros and outros, and interludes do nothing to temper the aggression. Indeed, there is so much heaviness that in these thoughtful moments work well to sort of like break up the unremitting intensity, and they also sort of like force the listener to consider the message, which is no doubt to the aim. Eagles Amongst Vultures, which is a pretty good song. I think it's just kicks your ass every time. And then the whole album closes, or disc 2 closes, with Weakness Leaving My Heart, which sort of like very much ends atmospherically and almost sluggishly in comparison. But so overall, well, Of Truth and Sacrifice by Heaven Shall Burn, pretty good album. Like I said, been a fan of these guys since I was in high school. I'm really dying to see them. I really wish they would come and tour in the US. I'd pay money as soon as tickets go on sale, or hopefully this virus will go away soon. But yeah, so if I get the new Heaven Shall Burn album a score, I'm going to give this probably a solid 9 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of the new Heaven Shall Burn album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.